What's up, guys? Tanner Larsson here from Build, Grow, Scale, and I want to talk to you about something that people kind of overlook or don't spend enough time thinking about in their e-commerce stores. And it's easy for this specific thing to get kind of lost in the jumble because you're so busy trying to do everything else, right? The most important thing of what you should be doing in your e-commerce store is selling, right? Getting your products to sell. But what happens when you sell out of your product, okay? Well, then the back of your mind, you're like, oh, I'll just reorder, no big deal. As soon as I sell out or I get close to selling out, I'll just reorder. Well, it's a lot more complicated than that, especially if you are sourcing products overseas, if you're manufacturing, or if you're doing anything like that, because it's not as simple as calling up your supplier and saying, hey, I need another 300 or 2,000 of this unit, please send it to me right away. Because chances are your supplier doesn't have that product. When they produced your order, you said, hey, I need 2,000 units of this, and they produced 2,000 units, let's say flashlights. They made you 2,000 flashlights. Okay, they shipped them to you. Well, it's not like they just made them like that, right? There's a production time. There's also a lead time on, any kind of other orders and things like that they have in place. So whenever you deal with a manufacturer, you not only have a product lead time, you also have a product production time, right? So typical production time is between 30 to 45 days, all right? So if you run out of stock today and you order today, the earliest you could have your stuff produced would be, say, 45 days from now, okay? But that gets them produced and then in China, all right, or wherever it happens to be. Let's just say China in this case. Then you have to get it over here. So if you airship, you could have it conceivably in 7 days, but that's going to be very expensive, okay, especially for something like flashlights. If you're going to do it traditionally, you're going to use container shipping, ocean shipping, and that's going to be 3 weeks on the water. All right, so now you've got a month of production time plus 3 weeks of on the water, and then you have to get it through the port and then delivered from the port to you. All right, so you conceivably are looking at almost 60 days of time from the day you place your order before you see that next set of inventory. Okay, so you have to account for that. So typically, like in our case, when we sell a ton of units, thousands and thousands and thousands of each item a week. How do we do this? Well, we have inventory in stock, we have inventory that's being shipped on the water, and we have inventory in production. So that's 3 different cycles of inventory in our company for every single product, all right? So we have the product in stock, we have product that's already been produced but it's on the waters, and we're trying to time it so that when we get close to selling out what's in stock, the next shipment has arrived. And then once that next shipment arrives, the other shipment that was in production is finishing up, and then it's going to start getting shipped, and then we put a new shipment or a new order into production. Okay, so that's the basic product life cycle, or not life cycle, excuse me, supply chain. The other piece of that, though, is you also have raw materials. If you're going to make a big order to your factory, and especially if you're dealing with a smaller factory, chances are they don't have the raw materials to manufacture your items on hand in their warehouses. They're notorious, especially in China, for not doing that. So when you place an order, they immediately then, once they have the money from your wire transfer, they then go out and place the order for the raw materials. Well, what if the raw materials are not available? Or what if only some of the raw materials? Last year, we produced about, in one order before Christmas, around 12,000 flashlights, all right, of a specific type of flashlight. And the order was all good. They ordered the raw materials, everything but one specific little electrical piece, a diode, or I'm not even sure what it was. One thing, it was a raw material that was not available. So everything else was purchased, but we couldn't produce the flashlights because the one little missing piece was not available. Okay, so that backtracks the order and puts it on hold. So when you guys are planning out your product inventory and you're selling and you're figuring out how you're going to do all this, you need to really account for your shipping and lead times on your product manufacturing side as well as the shipping on the water and everything else. And then if you're shipping, because if you're on Amazon, if your product's out of stock for even a day, that's a big deal, okay? You could lose your rankings, have to rebuild everything, you can lose your sales, it'll just kind of peter out and die, right? On your e-com store, it's not as critical because you can always pause the ad or, whatever you're doing. The problem is, though, every day that you don't have product in stock is days you're not making money. All right, so it's really important that you manage your, inventory timing effectively. So one of the simple way to do this, okay, there's not a perfect way to do this, guys. You're going to have some trial and error, but is figure out how many units a day you are selling of whatever the product is, okay? and then take however many, that's your, so you're selling on average 20 units a day. Okay, then you take that and you divide that into the amount of inventory you have available. That tells you how many days of inventory you have before you're going to be out. All right. Then you go and look at your, talk to your manufacturer and figure out your lead time, your shipping time, and all of that. Add that up and figure out how long it's going to take you to get the next order in. Okay. So if you have 40 days of inventory and it's going to take you 60 days to get the next set of product, including shipping to you, well, then you're out of stock for 20 days. But if you have 60 days of inventory and it's going to take you 45 days or whatever to get the next product, okay, well, then you're going to have 15 days of inventory as a cushion on average before you run out and your new product will have shown up. Okay, so it's kind of a trial and error thing. You have to, there's no good way to just say, hey, this is the perfect way to do it, because it's a guessing game, right? You have to figure out, every store is different, and figure out how things are working. But in your case, and in anybody's case, it's very, very important that you do take the time to think about your inventory timing so that you don't run out of stock. And in our case, we like to carry a little bit of heavier inventory load in the warehouse just to account for spikes and things like that, or in case a delay happens. Like there was a strike at the Oakland port when we had our last containers coming in, and it delayed our container shipment by 2 weeks. Well, if we hadn't had extra inventory on hand to cover that, we would have been out. So there's all kinds of things that are outside of your control, but you still have to try to plan for them and try to control them. So anyway, guys, just a little bit of food for thought on your inventory timing and making sure you don't run out of stock, and a couple tips and things you may not have thought of. So with that, guys, about to pull into the office here, so I'll see you later. Today, I just want to talk to you a little bit about Facebook ads and using them to drive traffic to your store. Over the last week, we've doubled sales every single day. And this morning, about 7:30 this morning, we already were over $1,000 profit for the day.